That's why it's so critical to really tap into what am I communicating without communicating even? What am I saying? And is it what I want to be saying? And is it helping me towards my goals, whether you're a leader or not? What is my image saying to everybody around me? And quite frankly, what is it saying to yourself? Because you're the CEO of your own life. Welcome to Nourify and Beautify, the podcast that shows you the other side of beauty. Every week we interview the experts about the world of beauty, health, and wellness so that you can make informed decisions that are right for you. My name is Linda Yates.
And I'm Noura Bouchama. If you listened to last week's episode, you know that I got interviewed by my lovely co-host, Linda. Today, we're turning the table. Linda is an international keynote speaker, leadership consultant, executive coach, corporate trainer, author, and stylist. She has extensive experience as an image coach, and she understands that a powerful image begins with self-perception and self-care. She is the author of several books and the host of the Interrupts podcast for women in leadership, and is an amazing co-host here on Unify and Beautify. I'm so glad we get to spend this episode talking about image and give you some useful strategies on defining your image and improving your self-perception. Let's start the show. I'm glad I get to interview you this week. Last week, I answered all the questions, so I can't wait to ask them today. How someone can define their image and boost their confidence. We all know that when we feel our best, we look our best, but I suspect there is much more into that.
You know, that's really true. One of the biggest things that I realized when I launched what I do, and it's been almost 12 years ago full time. So I guess it has been 12 years ago, over 12 years, but full time, just under 12 full time. But what I realized was that our image is always talking. So whether we're talking or not, our image is always talking. And there's so many different aspects of our image. In fact, I've identified about 15 different aspects to our image.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm very interested to hear more about that. One thing that makes this topic is so relevant right now is how the lines are blurring between the beauty and health industries. People are starting to understand that you don't want beauty products to look good, or to fix your problems, but you need to take steps not to make those problems worse in the beginning with taking healthier choices. It seems like people want real confidence not right now, and they understand that comes from the inside. And if they're not going to buy, if they are going to buy products, they should be products that makes them feel good, not just look good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that is so true. I would also opine that whatever you do with regard to stepping up your image, you're going to feel good inside. Because again, as I said earlier, it's that projection that goes out. Because what I have found and experienced, my clients have seen, and as I've researched this, is that whenever you do something for yourself that steps up your image, you actually project that out, and then it comes back to you because of the interaction that you have. And so then you feel even better. So it's just like this continual regenerative cycle. And it's kind of like, I always use the example of the sun. So it's like when we lay out in the sun, and I know we always use sunscreen, okay? But as we lay out in the sun, we feel those rays hit our body. We're warmed by our body. And quite frankly, our bodies and our skin are actually reflecting back out. And so that's what the image does as well.
Okay. Well, you are known as an image energizer because you've helped countless people, especially people in the leadership positions, develop their image in a multi-faced way. Can you describe what person's image is and why it's essential to take the time to create it intentionally.
You bet. So your image precedes you, whether, and it follows you too. So whatever you bring to the table is what you're building in your image. And your image, as I said, is a lot of different things. I mentioned that I have identified 15 different areas. So even what you put into your body, so that means what you're drinking, what you're eating, that will impact your image because that impacts your energy and how you feel. The clothes you put on, the colors you wear, how you move your body language, the words you use. These are all different things that impact your image, as well as the rest that you give yourself or the exercise that you give yourself. And another obviously big aspect is what are you saying to yourself internally? What is the self-talk that you have going on? So those are all different parts. And that's why it's so critical to really tap into what am I communicating without communicating even? What am I saying? And is it what I want to be saying? And is it helping me towards my goals, whether you're a leader or not? What what is my image saying to everybody around me? And quite frankly, what is it saying to yourself? Because you're the CEO of your own life.
I like this. You are the CEO of your own life. But the thing is, sometimes, especially in leadership positions or people who are going newly to the leadership positions, especially if we're talking to scientific people, they're not a good communicator usually.
Yes.
We are not. So how that can affect it? I like you create intentionally your image. How can you do that?
So it starts by that self-awareness. There's ways to do that. You can video yourself. You can ask for feedback from those people that you love and love you or you trust and say, "Hey, is there something that I'm doing as I show up in communicating with you that perhaps I could maybe step up?" And really be open to that. And once you open yourself to that, it's just a phenomenal journey that you can go on. And it's not about winning the approval of anyone else, but it's about bettering yourself and growing yourself.
Okay. So if you have like one thing to tell people listening to us right now on how to improve their image, would be to listen to yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And listen and watch how people react to you when you show up. When you walk into the room, what's the reaction? That I think that's a big tell. And then if that reaction is what you want, great, just build on that. But if that reaction is not quite what you want, then there's an opportunity for you to do some self-awareness.
Have you encountered any misconception uh, people have about the idea of image?
Oh, absolutely.
I love your laugh. It's like the misconception is all over.
And I have to admit, I didn't even know what question you were going to ask. I honestly, but the fact that when you said misconception, I'm like, oh yeah. So throughout my career, oftentimes I would be told that I came across as as unapproachable. Okay, unapproachable,
Mhm.
which is which
Wow.
is not at all what I desired at all. So I knew that I needed to do some tweaking in order to do that. And I realized that when I walk into a room, I have a very strong presence. I guess I was born with that. I became that. I don't know. Maybe it's just the experiences that I've had. Perhaps it's my coloring. I don't know what that is. But I realized that there's some things that if I don't want to appear unapproachable that I need to do. That meant I needed to smile more. I maybe needed to change the colors I wore just a little bit so they're a little more welcoming or whatever the case, or move my body differently and be very aware of what my body language is saying. If my body language is more closed, I needed to open it. So those are some things that, yeah, absolutely there could be a misconception because then on the flip side, then as people either heard me speak or they interacted with me or they watched me or whatever, then I would get a comment that, wow, that is, you're not unapproachable. You're, whatever that case may be. So,
Wow. There is such an interesting conversation to be had here about the way we feel impacts the way we appear to the people around us. But the opposite can be true as well. The way we present ourselves into the world can also have an impact on how we see ourselves. Did you find that when working with your clients? Can you share an example?
you bet. Absolutely. One of the biggest things that I've noticed is, clothes really do make the woman, man, person, right? There's a saying that the clothes make the person. And it's not just a saying, it's an actual scientific fact. They call that the embodied condition. So, what happens in the embodied conditions? When we put on certain clothes, it will help project within us and outward, okay? Because what's going on inside is projecting outward, whether you want to admit it
Oh,
or
yeah.
not. That's what's
Mhm.
happening. But when we wear certain clothes, we act a certain way. All right. So think
Yeah.
about it. When you finish a hard day, you've been at the lab all day, you go home. What's the first thing you take off, Noor?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I put my jammies on.
Yeah, because all of a sudden you're changing your, okay, we're no longer at work. We're now in a relaxed mode. I need to come down. So that's exactly what happens whenever we put different clothes on ourselves. We show up in a different way based on our clothes. So one of the things that when clients have worked with me, one of the things that they've engaged me for is to help them with their confidence. And so if you've gone through a really rough time, in fact, today I was participating in some mock interviews and there was this woman that I was interviewing for this mock interview and she'd had a gap in her background. And so I asked her about that gap and then she told me this story about how basically she was let go and you could tell there was all this bitterness, okay, that came out. Now, she wasn't, now when I say the embodied condition, she wasn't dressed that way. But what can happen is when we get a setback, we may go to those comfort clothes because we're trying to protect ourselves. We're trying to heal. We're trying to soothe ourselves. That's totally fine. But if that's not how you want to show up to the world, or you, or maybe perhaps fighting with depression, and I'm not talking clinical depression that you need to go speak and see someone, but I'm just saying, you know what? You've kind of had this series of not bad, a few bad days. You just don't care. You're not washing your hair or whatever the case may be. Okay. The minute that you put forth some effort and you change your clothes, you change the color of your clothes, that may be a color that energizes you, you will actually raise your image. You will raise your energy because again, when we what we put on our clothes brings out what that embodied condition is and how we act.
I love that. I had a friend told me every time she got a breakup, she would go put her best outfit on, go to the salon, make her hair, and goes out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
she says that that's her therapy.
yeah.
Uh,
It makes a difference. It truly, and the same goes for the other way too. If you are so beat up, stressed out, take time to put on some comfort clothes. And so I have to admit, so my mom, I always grew up when my mom, when her day was like, okay, she's going to start wrapping up her day. And she was a go, go, go woman, go, 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 always going. But she'd pull on her house coat, her nightgown, her house coat, and she'd sit down and watch TV. And I saw her actually emotionally come down from the, go, go, go of the day. It makes a difference.
it makes a big difference. It does. Uh, when I go home now, my little one runs to my blanket and she gives me my blanket and she says, "Do you want coffee?" She's two.
That's
Mommy,
so
coffee.
cute. That's adorable.
So
I love
she
it.
knows like I need my 5 minutes.
Uh-huh. That's smart. That's good.
Are there particular exercises or routines that you recommend for people who are trying to boost their self image in an authentic way? Like,
Absolutely.
I don't know, a routine or skincare?
Yeah. We had my friend Ariane Poole a few episodes ago. And if you haven't checked out that episode, I'd encourage you to do it. She talks about what's that one thing that you have to have that makes you feel good, or, that you just have to add. And I truly believe in that as well. So that one thing is awesome, whether it's, jewelry, or if it's perfume, or whatever that case may be. But I believe that it starts even before that. And I believe it really comes from self-talk. And I would encourage you to implement, if you haven't already done so, affirmations. And one of the best ways you can do that is, write them out. Writing is a neurological experience for your brain of those affirmations, so that you can help build up. Again, you're the CEO of your own life. So if you can help build up mentally and emotionally that energy for you with those affirmations, that is one thing that you can do to step up your image.
We talk a lot in this show about trends, because trends can be a lot of fun, but they can also cause us to chase after a certain makeup look or a certain products. Those things could not really match with our personality, and they might go out of style by the end of the month. So how can someone balance between wanting wanting to stay current, or experiment, and maintaining personal authenticity and integrity?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I think about that is, you can check out a certain trend, and then you can maybe modify it to your authentic style. So, for instance, I love shoes. And in fact, when I dress, it starts from my shoes up. So it depends on what shoes I'm feeling like wearing. And then I dress everything up from that. Well, shoe styles change every year, This year, it's more of a square toe, not a pointed toe, or it's a really pointed toe, not a round toe. Excuse me. Round toe is not in this year.
Not in
Well,
anymore. Yeah.
and I'm not going to get rid of my round toed shoes. So I may step up or implement a little bit of a trend in something else. Perhaps I'm going to, use a little bit of an animal print that will take away from people noticing whether or not my shoes are pointed or square and, from round. So that's why I say, make it yours. You own it. And you get to decide. Again, you get to decide all these things, makeup, again, with makeup trends. And as you go through different seasons in life, things may change. I recently had my face done by one of my favorite women at my makeup counter, my Nordstrom makeup counter. And, she underlined my bottom lid. And, it looked pretty, but you know what? That's not for me. And I wanted it to be lighter. And you know what? So that's okay. It was fun for one day. But, the next day I did it the way I would want it. So it's okay.
So you came back to you.
Yep. But I did implement, she had suggested, because one of the things I said to her is like, okay, I need some faster tools that I can get out faster. And she had shown me this like cream eyeshadow that I could just kind of blend. So instead of using 3 or 4 eyeshadows with brushes and all that, I used one. And I've tried that this past week 3 times, and I thought, yeah, this is not a bad look.
Wow.
So again,
that's nice. Yeah.
I apply it, or I implement it to what makes sense and feels good.
One thing that I love about your show, Linda, was that you would ask your guests to come up with 3 tips for the listeners in every episode. If you could give anyone out there 3 tips for how to define their image and move through the world with confidence, what would that be?
Okay. Be very aware of the words that you're saying. And what I mean by that is especially spacer or filler words or crutch words, they're also referred to as. Those words are like so, like, and instead of saying those words, just pause. So implement the pause. And as you implement a pause, you're going to come off and sound more confident rather than searching for the words. So that would be one tip. And that will make such a difference in the way you are perceived and the way that you feel, So that is one big one. Another is to choose those colors that are complementary to your skin tone and to your hair and that complement you. And it's not about seeing the clothes that you're wearing or the makeup that you're wearing. It's about how they highlight what you've been blessed with, what you came to this earth with. And so that would be another, is to be aware of the colors that you're wearing. And then last but not least is, again, that self-talk. What is it that you're saying to yourself? What are you saying to yourself when you have victories? What is it that you're saying to yourself when you have stumbling blocks? And instead of beating yourself up, saying, oh, you're so stupid, or, oh, this always happens, change that, reframe that, and use this statement of, oh, that's so unlike me. That's so unlike me. And if you do that, that will, again, help elevate your image. That will help elevate your confidence in the way that you show up.
My mom had me start my day every day since I was 5 years old by looking at the mirror and saying, you are a smart, beautiful, strong girl.
That's awesome. And you are, Nor. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
I love that.
But I force my babies to say that as well.
That's
like
great.
It started by forcing, but then it becomes a habit. And I agree, what you say to yourself makes a big difference on how your day goes. When you beat yourself up, it becomes much harder to pull yourself up again. And we all have to pull ourselves at the end of the day.
That is so true.
If someone wants to work with you on their personal image, where can they find more information about you?
Well, you can definitely come to my website, and that's Linda with an I. H is in happy, the initial H, and my last name, Yates, YATES.com, LindaHYates.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on all the other networks too, but LinkedIn is probably where I'm at the most. So Linda H. Yates. So like Linda Happy Yates. So
I love that. I love the happy in the middle. Thank you so much for sharing this with our audience. I know this will really help them understand that balance between working on their inside and outside, and how that they can achieve the image that they truly want.
Yeah, it has been so much fun chatting about something that I'm extremely passionate about, and how I've seen it change my own life from a teenage girl that didn't think she could do a lot, wasn't smart, wasn't cute, and quite frankly was very quiet, to someone that just is so passionate about helping people tap into what's possible for them.
Thank you. Thank you for an amazing interview, Linda. I love hearing your perspective on these things. My big takeaway was really look inside yourself, believe in yourself, pull yourself up. Always tell yourself that you are worthy, and everything comes after that.
Yeah, thank you, Nora. I totally agree with that. One of the things that I tell every individual, or whenever I have done a show, an interview, or whatever the case may be, or written or spoken about, and that is that I truly believe that with God, nothing is impossible. So whatever it is you want to change, improve, step up, get rid of, it's possible for you. And I really believe that we have strengths, each one of us there's strengths waiting for us to uncover, possibilities to realize, so that we can accomplish not just our goals, but our dreams. I truly believe that that's the case.
Wow. We want to thank you for listening to this episode of Purify and Beautify, where we show you the other side of beauty. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and you'll subscribe or follow the podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you want more information about us or to read our blog, check us out at purify-beautify.com.
Purify and Beautify is produced by TSC Studios, and our music is from Soundstripe. If you haven't been over to our YouTube channel, you can watch our interviews there as well. And we'd love it if you'd leave us a comment while you're at it. I'm Linda Yates.
And I'm Noura Bushama. We will be back next week with another great episode of Neurify and Beautify. See you then.